Hey, FanboyNation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
You're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy. Fanboy.
Fanboy.
Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
FanboyNation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
Last week, we were in LA for the California Dreams Band concert in West Hollywood. Next weekend, we're going to be, well, not me, but Diana will be in Atlantic City with the band performing one more time. Diana Uribe, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you? Actually, it'll be two more times. I hear we're doing a show on Thursday and on Saturday. So two more times in Atlantic City.
You're keeping busy. The most detailed IMDb page ever. Diana Uribe was born on October 8th. She is an actress known for Jackie Brown, California Dreams, and Nash Bridges. Can't get more in depth than that.
It's kind of my MO. You know, stay under a rock for as long as you can.
I think so. Listen, I did not expect the concert to be as meaningful to everybody as it was in LA. I'm pretty sure you read the article where the lady came in from Nevada because she was tied to her brother who passed away in 1999, and like this was her connection to him, was the show. And it's got to be surreal when you hear stories from fans like that they'll do a one-day turnaround trip just to see you perform because of something that you touched them almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's exactly why we did the LA show, and me in particular is so committed to kind of coming out of from under my rock and doing these shows, because those were the kinds of comments and feedback we got in New York, and I had no idea, never heard that impact that people recounted our show having on their lives. And so when you start to hear that, it's kind of like, okay, well then this really isn't about me. This is really about people who are excited, who do the one day turnaround or fly in from Tennessee, from Ireland, from England, just because they hear we're doing a show. And so honestly, it's like, all right, you're in, I'm in, got to do it for you.
Well, you might say you're under a rock, but according to your daughter, Macy, you're under a boulder.
That's true. That's true. Everybody makes fun of me. It's been a while.
Yeah, she's just like, I didn't even know mom was an actress till grandpa showed me a video. And then I was like, oh, okay. And she's singing every single song from the show at the concert.
I know. YouTube's been amazing, although we really want to get it streaming. But YouTube has been pretty much an exciting addition and outreach for the show. But you're right, my daughter actually saw him on VHS tapes because my dad, who unfortunately just passed away and was not able to see the LA show, he used to wait every Saturday morning, his finger on the red record button and hit record when our show was on, and got every single one of our episodes on VHS tape. So that's an incredible memory that I have of my dad, and my dad showing the VHS tapes to my daughter. I just aged myself. Awesome.
It's all right. For you kids that don't know what a VHS is, it's the original DVR. All right. Often flashing 12 because people never knew how to set the clock. All right. So you actually had to be there in person to push the button for record at the right time.
At the right time. And there was a physical tape that, you know, it was like physically, you know, this was all physical stuff, people. It was not digital, no such thing.
You know, we had to leave the house to go watch movies. We had to go outside, and this magical thing called the sun. That's what we had to see.
That, and you had to wait every single week for a new episode of your favorite TV show. And then sometimes you would have to wait 2 or 3 weeks because they would put a repeat in there to extend the season and make sure you had plenty to see. And if you missed it the first time, it would be called a repeat.
Yes. And then the summer reruns where they showed the entire season over again.
Yes.
Because you were probably in school when everything was running the first time around.
Exactly. All these concepts completely foreign to many people out there, and the 2 to 3 generations that came after our show. I think we're probably on 3, right? I mean, is it Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, millennials? I mean, I don't even know how many generations we are in now.
So it's Gen X, then millennials or Gen Y, then Gen
Okay.
Z, and now to Gen Alpha.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. Gen Alpha will never understand the intricate details of what it was to be Gen X. And then I love watching all these videos where Gen Z is like, Gen X had it easy. And then like all the Gen Xers replying are like, yeah, we'll just murder your entire family. We don't care.
Exactly. Exactly. I love those videos, by the way, of everything that we used to do. In contrast to what the new generation's doing. I love those.
By the way, I wanted to mention this. Your husband, very nice man. We had a very quick exchange. We didn't get the chance to talk much, but I saw him smile and I saw him beaming with how delighted he was to see you not only put on extroverted Diana personality, because I'm pretty sure he's used to the real you at home. But like, I look at your husband, and I'm saying this with all due respect. This is not a knock by any means. Like, if I was a casting director and I was going to cast jovial child dentist on a kid's show, I'd cast your husband.
Oh my God, jovial child dentist. That's awesome. I can't wait to tell him.
Like, he looks like he'd be playing the kid's dentist that's having more fun than anybody else while the kid's freaking out in the dentist chair.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Well, the joke of our family and friends, first of all, he's our ambassador because he talks to anybody and everybody. He's the kind of guy that he's the original, I think, Cheers Norm. Like, he would be Norm at any bar that you could possibly, find anywhere near where we live. He loves to talk to people. He loves to engage. We always find out the entire life history of Uber drivers every single time, like how many kids they have, how long they've been driving. He is like the extrovert ambassador to our family and talks to everybody. And yeah, he was very, very proud because he hadn't really seen me in that element. We met when I was just beyond taping the show, and he knew of me and he had been around me when I was working, but shortly after we got married and I got pregnant, I kind of gave it up. And so he hasn't seen me in this element. And I think he's been very supportive, and it was really cool.
So it's all Macy's fault that you gave up acting.
Yeah, it actually is. I was pregnant with Macy. Yeah, it absolutely, like 100%. 6 or 7 months pregnant with Macy. And I'm like, I can't do this. This is super overwhelming. Like, driving from the South Bay. I live in Southern California. There's like a southernmost beach in Los Angeles County. I mean, I guess there's still Long Beach and San Pedro, but I'm in a South Beach city that's pretty far from LAX and Hollywood. And it was just, before COVID, you had to drive the freeway to get to Sunset Gower, Paramount, all the studios and audition. And all the casting director offices. And it was a nightmare. I used to have a best friend that I would throw in the car just so I could take the carpool lane, just so I could audition and come back within a reasonable amount of time. And it was still about a 3-hour trip just to go up and back.
Sorry, the tea almost came out of my nose because that's what I do when I go to press screenings. Is like, who wants to go with me? I got a +1, and then like we take a carpool buddy,
just so you could take the carpool.
Yeah. And by the way, if anyone looks up South Bay on a map and tries to figure out why Diana is saying it's far from LA because it's only like 17 miles. We don't do distance in Southern California or Southern California. We do by time.
Yes. Don't you remember Swingers?
Yes.
Everything is 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? That? It's not the case anymore. Swingers version 2.0, this now would be everywhere is about 45 minutes to an hour.
Right. From your house to Ralph's is 45 minutes to an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Jenny got everybody together for the New York show.
She did.
For New York Comic Con. how difficult was it for her to convince you to be pulled back in? You know, was it like, I've been so far removed, I got 18 kids now, you know, my husband's great, I'm a beach bum, all this stuff. Do I really want to go back into this world? Or like, did she have to show you like fan reactions on social media of like, no, everyone wants us back. Come on, let's do this.
I think it was definitely like the first part of what you said. I was like, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I want to do this. Social media has always scared the crap out of me. I'm always worried that people aren't going to be very nice. I mean, you hear all the horror stories about people trolling and not being nice, and that's always been kind of my concern, is like, and you know, I appreciate all the compliments, but I'm my own worst critic. I don't think I look like I did when I was 19. I don't think it's reasonable to expect that. And so I was just concerned about not really meeting people's expectations of 30 years later. And me, myself, seeing me out there, I don't know if I was going to handle it well. And I didn't know if my family was going to be able to understand what came with that. Because there is a little weirdness sometimes. There's, you know, people finding out where you live or whatever. And so it was all encompassing concern. But once I talked to Jenny and she's like, it'll be fun. You'll do, you know, you do whatever makes you feel comfortable. And I talked to the family, and I actually talked to a great group of friends who showed up, to the show on Friday. I have this volleyball crew of ladies that are amazing and supporting, and just the love and the support from them, you know, women supporting women was so cool. I was like, screw it, let's do this. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go to New York. And then New York was awesome. New York was just touching and fun and fabulous. And I told Jenny, all right, I'm in. If I can make it happen, I'm in for the ride. So let's do this.
What was it like seeing everybody all over again? I mean, did it feel like a family reunion, high school reunion, or just like time never passed?
You know, it's funny because I think it was a little bit of time never passed, but also high school reunion, because we all looked at each other and we're like, oh, look at you, you know, look at those, look at you, look at your grades, Michael, you know, and all that stuff. But other than that, when right before we got on stage for the New York show, it was like time had never passed, because what we used to do before we went out on a live show is just kind of like huddle around, and we could feel the energy, and we'd be kind of like, let's go, you know, like, and it felt like that in New York. And that's when it was major 30-year flashback to what it was like right before we went on a live taping. And it was so much fun. It was really fun. And I'm bummed I didn't get to meet Heidi. We were so close to having every single one of us there, which would have been really, really cool. But you know, family things and life got in the way. And so haven't had the pleasure of meeting Heidi yet.
Well, I haven't met Heidi yet, or Dr. William Jones. So, you know, hopefully one day for both of them.
Yeah, Dr. William Jones will be at Atlantic City.
You know, here's the problem with the whole Dr. Jones thing.
Yeah.
And this is how I'm going to age myself now. Every time I hear him as Dr. Jones, all I hear is Short Round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom screaming, Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones.
Yeah. So like
Yes.
that's how I'm aging myself. And like, you know, that's the only thing I'm afraid to meet him with, is that whole Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones.
I hadn't even put the two together, but I love Indiana Jones. So yep, that makes sense. That 100%. Now I can hear it.
Yeah. The funny thing was, I've interviewed Mark a couple of times, and Mark and I are very similar in that we're both overeducated meatheads. So he's currently a school teacher. I used to be a school teacher. He's a wrestling coach. I'm a wrestler. So like we had that instant connection. And I was like, oh my God, it's two meatheads talking to each other the whole time. Yeah. And it's not a dig, it's just who we are.
Nothing wrong with being a meathead.
No. But it's funny because Jay's character was like the biker meathead. And here we come find out that it was really Aaron in real life.
Yeah,
and Mark
for
was
sure.
a total nerd.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny that we get that question a lot, like who was the least like their character, who was the most? And the answer is pretty much the same for everybody. We think that Michael, of course, was the most like Sly, his just kind of dry, just humor and one-liners and all of that is definitely Michael. But Jay was the least like aggressive biker, edge completely. Like, I mean, look at his Instagram, his dogs, and he's so concerned about, animal cruelty. I mean, he is like nowhere near his character at all.
Right. And then Aaron played Mark, who was like the total nerd introvert. Come to find out, he's a 2-time state wrestling champion from Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I actually didn't know that, by the way.
Okay. Well, now we know I think Mark is the furthest from his character instead of Jay, or both of them. It's a tie at this point.
It's really good to know.
Yeah. See, I told you meatheads like agree on certain things, and like we can bring it out of each other quick. Yeah, and it's worse because we're both overeducated, so we're smart meatheads. So now it's worse because we can insult you intelligently while we take you to the ground. So it just makes it all around worse. Yeah, as you come back into this world, and there was trepidation in the beginning, and now it's a little more relaxed. Your daughter, I'm gonna actually quote her for you. All right, so that way we have it in full context. All right.
Oh gosh.
It's nice. All right. After we've already mentioned that she sang every song, direct quote, you'd be surprised, but my mom is typically introverted. When I was 10, my grandfather introduced me to California Dreams. He said, hey, want to see something cool? And showed me my mom used to be an actress. It's amazing to see her performing 15 minutes away from where she grew up, experiencing her in a different element and not just as my mom. Has this brought you guys closer together in a different light or evolved your relationship? Since before it was just mom, 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 and then come to find out, and I'm sorry, Macy, you told me this in confidence, but I got to share it with your mom. All the guys finding out who you are, Diana, and going, dude, your mom's hot. Like, first of all, that's rude to tell her that because your daughter's absolutely gorgeous. And like, who at 19 wants to hear someone talking about her mom from when she was the same age?
I don't know if bringing us closer is the right way to describe it, but I do feel like, because we're a pretty close family. We just got back from traveling in Ireland and we did not kill each other. So I'm calling that a win. Check. We did pretty good there. So I would say that we're a pretty close family already, but I think that my family is a little bit excited for me to kind of dip my toes back into this thing that I used to do. I think part of it too is, both Macy and my son, who's the second, I have 3 kids, are kind of going off to college, a little more independent, a little less dependent on me. My third and youngest, who we call the redhead, lovingly, of course, is in high school and busy and living life and a little less dependent on me. And so it was just kind of this weird combination of timing that my kids are getting older, they're less dependent on me. I'm feeling a little bit more like, okay, they're good, they're handled, they're self-sufficient, and it just became this everything at the same time just kind of started falling into place. And so I see a little bit of pride. I hope I'm not seeing things. I hope they're excited. I think they are. They were super happy and excited on Friday, and my husband and Redhead came on Sunday for the second show. And so I think there's just a little bit of excitement and pride, hopefully, from them, which I think that's what I see.
Well, I saw it with your daughter and your husband on Friday, but it begs the question to now, what does it feel like that this has come around full circle and you end up 15 minutes from where you grew up to performing in West Hollywood?
Surreal. I mean, it's kind of an overused word from a lot of us, saying that, oh my God, this is so surreal. But it really is. It's just weird. It's crazy that this is 30 years later and we're back in Hollywood where it all sounds cheeseballs, but I mean, where it all began. I used to live on Franklin and Argyle, right above from Capitol Records and the Pantages. So it's surreal. It really is. And I'm excited to see where this goes. I really am. I saw a lot of our old friends and casting directors and executive producers, and everybody was just so excited about it. I would just be excited to see where this leads. And I'm really hoping that it leads to something super positive. And I'm not just talking about working again or, entering the entertainment industry in particular, but it's just the effect that I'm hearing that this show had on people is the part that is the best and the most endearing part. It makes you just feel good because it feels like you're doing something good. You're just affecting people's lives in a positive way. And so I'm hoping that in some way I can build off of that and do something a little bit more fulfilling and that affects people positively and whatever, hoping that this forum and this opportunity leads into something better, something good, touching people in a positive way. I don't know. I'm completely open to the opportunity that I'm hoping this brings to just do some good.
Well, the most common thing that was said from people that grew up with the show who are now parents was that the show was kid friendly, but not childish. So there was still lessons like, Mark had a drunk driving episode, and then there was the family tree episode, which was a big deal to me because, whereas William's character had to deal with his family having been slaves in the past, my family had survived the mass genocide, so we have no record of anyone past, my great-grandfather's father. So, because all the records were destroyed. So it's interesting to see how certain things affected certain people and how it played out, but there was still humor and levity in it. Yes, it was a heavy topic for Gen X, tail end of Gen X and beginning of millennials, but also could still be kid friendly and relatable without talking down to the kids of the day.
Exactly. And I just heard from one of our producers who went to brunch after one of the shows. I think that was, he said it was a requirement of something having to do with our unfortunately, don't particularly remember the details of it, but he said it was a requirement of the show that we needed to have some kind of lesson every episode, even if it was very light. But there had to be something positive that came out of whatever it is that we were doing. And so, yeah, I see how it was funny and kid friendly, but it gave some pretty positive messages. And except for the fact that Jake was just going around dating people all the time like that. Perhaps we don't want to push that message around. Dude,
don't date your friends. Don't be Jake and date your friends, because he dated everybody from Heidi on down. Was there nobody else at Pacific Coast High School?
I know. We might not want to push that message. Right. Go ahead and date every girl in your friend circle.
Right. You guys were in a private school. It wasn't class of 1997 wasn't 12 people.
I know. PSA, everybody, do not date your friends.
Yes. Yeah. Unless you're going to marry that one.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, by the way, I know a lot of people that married their high school sweetheart. So at least there's that. So it does work out.
Envious about that.
What?
There is something a bit envious about that. Wow, you a buddy of mine who's a professional fighter met his wife in the 8th grade. They're both from the Republic of Georgia. He saw her across the courtyard. He's like, that's her. And they've been together ever since.
I know. That's fake. though, right there. That's like some higher level stuff going on. Like how does that happen?
I don't know, but it worked out for him, and God bless him and his 2 kids and his incredible wife and everybody else. So
That's awesome.
a little bit
Yeah.
of jealousy, but still, when you see these reactions, you realize this was going on. And by the way, kids, for those of us that watched cartoons in the 80s, we had to have a message because it was a 22-minute toy commercial with a 1-minute message at the end of it. And so this kind of translated into the early 90s, where we still had to have the message in programming, because we also had commercials that said, "Hey parents, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?"
Mm-hmm.
So
It
we
always
got to
felt
put
like
that
an
in
after
context.
school special. Do you remember the after school specials?
Yeah. There was the steroid one, there was the marijuana one, there was the latchkey kid one. Like, oh, by the way,
Mhm.
hey parents, maybe you should like come home sometimes.
Do not give keys to your children and then expect them to let themselves into their house.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be interesting from the way we were raised, like this latchkey thing. No, I mean, that's the term, but like to all of a sudden overcompensating and being like helicopter parents. How did you
Yeah.
find the balance between that helicopter aspect of raising your kids versus, how we were raised?
I think the biggest takeaway that I got from my parents, who I love, I love dearly. I know that they did the best they could, and being a parent myself, you're like, oh, they don't give you a manual. You got to figure this out on the fly. That's awesome. So, okay, now I get it. Is I just wanted to over communicate with my kids, because my parents were of the generation of because I said so, right? Like, don't do this because I said so. Like, wait, why? Wait, why can I not walk on the edge of that ledge? I realize that there's a cliff and there's like 1,000 feet, but why? And they were a lot more of like, because I said so. I'm straight up blunt with my kids, and I'm like, because you're gonna fall and die and it's gonna hurt. So what would you rather do? Like, I literally am constantly like, you got a question, ask me the question. I'm not gonna hold back. So that was the difference, I think, raising my kids and trying to be, everybody wants to be different from their parents, right, wrong, or indifferent. Not to say that they did a bad job, but you kind of just want to always kind of improve. And my attempt at improvement and not being that latchkey, child rearing way of raising my kids was to just over communicate, which I'm hoping has translated. I'm hoping my kids are able to be honest with me. I was afraid of my mom and my dad. Like, I was afraid they were going to kick my ass. Like, I couldn't tell them it, like my mother, like Mexican mother, bringing the wooden spoon out. My dad, Colombian father, bringing out the belt. I was afraid of my of my parents.
Let's hope
And
you're
I'm
not
not
afraid
going
of
to
your
say,
kids.
what was that?
Let's hope you're not afraid of your kids.
No, I'm not afraid of my kids. Actually, I was going to say, I might have instilled a little bit of fear still in with them, because I was pretty strict, and oh God, I believed in spanking. Yes, I'm sorry, God forbid. But in addition to being strict and having some framework of like, hey, you can do this, you can't do this, I felt it was super necessary to communicate to them and explain to them why this doesn't work, and like why that's a bad idea, and like why you shouldn't do that. So I don't know. I'll let you know once my kids grow up and try to do it better, what they actually say about me.
Okay. And by the way, Diana's leaving this part out, but every first generation American, including myself, still, when our mom moves her hand too quickly, we all flinch.
I know. You're like,
yeah. It turns into that, what did I do? Huh? And then they look at you like, what's the matter with you?
I know. The only thing is, now I have to admit, I don't flinch because I can outrun her. I'm like,
yeah, no, she's still good with that
can't reach me
slipper.
now. Can't throw it, can you?
Yeah. No, mine's still good with that slipper. I'm like, all right, it'll come flying. That boomerang
Oh
slipper.
God. Oh, those are the best TikToks too, by the way. The sandal.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one, they did like Arab cribs. And so my mom's from Lebanon, and it's hilarious to sit there and watch it because this thing was like 15 years old, but the guy's like yelling at his mom upstairs, and because he's yelling, she keeps throwing slippers at him to be quiet, and I was dying the whole time.
I
'Cause
love
he's just
those.
getting pelted with slippers.
That is one thing that my son and I do. We just send each other TikToks of like, Mexican parents, the slipper, the chancla flying across the room and all kinds of other probably inappropriate videos, but they're hilarious.
So we do, minus the inappropriate, hilarious videos, which, kind of have to be kept secret these days.
I know.
Did all of it subside once you became a mother and you became all focused in on the kids? Or like, did you have a different career that was away from acting that, like, I don't know, you became an accountant or something like that?
That part I do not talk about too much.
Fair enough.
There's another career, but I keep that one under wraps. That one's kind of in the privacy area of like that one we just kind of keep to itself.
Fair enough. Yeah. We'll just make sure it's legal, and so
Yes.
everybody knows it is legal and it is
100%.
Yes. That's
Yes.
that's the first thing we got to push, because someone's gonna be like, oh my God, it's something that we're not allowed to talk
Yeah.
about. It's like,
No, Griselda and I are not like this. I did not take part in I have no part in Griselda's business. Don't worry. We didn't go that route. I know I'm Colombian.
Everyone's mad at Sofia Vergara because she's Venezuelan and people want to be overly accurate. Yeah.
I wasn't available. What can I tell you? I hadn't come back, okay?
This is what happens when you spend your time raising 3 children.
Exactly. In the South Bay on the beach.
Right. What a horrible life living on the beach in Southern California.
I know. Please, I cannot complain.
Yeah. So tell me if you do this to your friends that live in cold weather states. When they start complaining about the cold, like this is something I do. I was like, I know because I feel your pain. I had to wear socks today. Like
no, it's worse.
Oh.
I usually tell my cold weather friends, I'm like, you guys, it was so cold today. I had to pull out my Uggs, and they're like, oh my God, how cold was it? It was like 62. No, I do like to turn the knife on my friends and just let them know how cold it is here when it gets below 60. It's chilly.
Right. Yeah, my friend did that to his cousin in New York. Like the blizzard hit and he was complaining about it, and then there was a down palm leaf, and he took a photo of it and sent it to him. He's like, I feel your pain.
Exactly. Did you see those videos where when it was raining here and they were like saying check in with your friends in California? Like the weather's real over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't complain. I love my little beach city.
Yeah. It's a nice little town. My favorite was during the pandemic, there was a bunch of memes going around of introverts check on your extroverted friends because they're not okay.
Yeah. Put it this way, I loved COVID.
So did I.
I was like, oh, this is great. I don't have to see anybody. I can just stay in my pajamas in my house. Yeah. My daughter was not kidding. Introvert to the max. This is actually awesome that I don't have to leave my house.
Yeah. Zoom was the greatest thing that ever happened. Zoom, Google Meets, all of that. They're fantastic.
Yes, for sure. I hear that that's the biggest change in the industry too. You don't even have to drive up to audition anymore. I'm like, really? Wow, that's crazy.
That's the biggie. The other one was Zoom meetings for us because we didn't have to drive, the 2.5, 3 hours to LA in traffic to get a 5-10 minute in-person video to be sent home for another 2.5 to 3 hours in traffic. So this has been
exactly.
phenomenal. I did like 8 interviews today.
That's awesome. I know. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Atlantic City's coming up. We got to talk about Atlantic City too, because you've been gone for so long. We had to bring everybody back up to speed of what's going on with Diana. So like now you're in the mix again. and essentially you're going to become a public speaker at this point. What's it like now going back to the East Coast after already having a taste of New York for this convention?
I don't know. This one's going to be a little different because, well, I've never been to Atlantic City, so there's that. I'd been to New York before, but never been to Atlantic City. And this one is actually a convention specific to, celebrities from shows. And I think the concept is pretty much 90s, putting them all together at this con, which is the term that everybody uses. And so this one's going to be very different because the last two events that we've done has been very specific to California Dreams, right? So everybody knows, the whole, Sly, I'm sorry, the Tiffany, Jake, and Lorena, love triangle. So it's just kind of a cute little thing that we did, on Friday and on Sunday, with the love song. But this is going to be a different approach from the band and from us, because this is a little less about us and a little bit more about like celebrating 90s and nostalgia and, people from TV shows and movies from that era. So I think we're going to have to take a little bit of a different approach with the show. Unfortunately, Michael Cate's not going to be there. He had a vacation scheduled, well in advance of Atlantic City. So he's not going to be there. So I'm being told that I'm going to take the brunt of the MC stuff. So that's going to be different, Lorena without Sly. So I think this is going to be all different. It's a little bit, it gives me a little bit of anxiety because it's not like we can get together and run through it and kind of sit down and rehearse. It's kind of like, we're all doing our lives, and then Thursday morning at 6 a.m, I'm flying to Philadelphia with Jay, and then we show up, and then we've got a show that night. So we're gonna wing it. Hopefully we just, keep people happy and satisfy everybody that comes out to see us, because all we want to do is entertain them and give them a good show. But I think it's going to be completely different than what we've done in New York and in California so far.
Well, it sounds like you guys are going to have a great time and everybody getting together again. And if Heidi was there, then it would have just been this weird Foursquare angle because she had Jake first.
That's true. That's true. We actually had a photo shoot, and there was we played it up on the photo shoot too, Jake and Tiff forever, and then Lorena off to the side. But yeah, no, I'm telling you, man, don't date your friends. Don't date just the friends in your circle.
Right.
PSA announcement.
The only one he didn't date was Jenny, apparently.
I know, that's true. Well,
Yeah.
Jenny and Willie were together. Jenny and Tony.
Right.
I get the names confused, but but if anybody's going to take anything from this interview, don't date your friends.
And go to the show in Atlantic City.
And go to the
July
show in Atlantic
21st
City.
to the
You're very good. God, you're good at this. Very good. That's why you get the big bucks.
Oh, please. Yeah, you're the one with the fan base that has her daughter's friends trying to hit on her from past videos. Yeah. Which is it is complimentary, but it's also weird because they're her classmates. So classmates don't hit on your friends' moms either.
unless you're gonna buy me a drink and I can hand them off to Macy. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. Well, she's 21 now, so that's why we keep mentioning her.
Yes, she is. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. If she was under 18, we wouldn't mention. We'd be like Red, the one that you keep calling Red, because we don't know.
Yeah,
her real name,
exactly.
we're
The
gonna keep it
redhead.
that way.
Yeah.
And they're actually redhead.
Yeah, she's a full redhead. She does not look like my daughter at all, actually. There have been moments where I have been confused for not being her mother.
But your husband wasn't confused for not being her father. She looked a lot like him.
They could see that relationship, but it's been hard to convince people that I have a complete ginger.
Wait till she starts speaking Colombian Spanish, and then everybody will just lose it.
I know, right? Totally.
Did you make him learn how to speak Spanish, by the way, and which dialect? Or is yours just like this mixed up one?
I did. I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible. I did not do well at teaching them. We were able to get them to understand it. And some of them are better than others, but no, they are not fluent. And I failed. I failed as a mother. I do feel like I failed them.
Well, the slippers did go flying, so you did something right.
Oh yeah, the slippers definitely came out. Like if there was going to be anything that they experienced, it was the slippers, not the belt, but definitely the chunkless.
Well, you know, if you get a chance, just remember there's still casinos in Atlantic City. So
Okay.
might as well put $20 on black when you hit the roulette table.
Sounds good. I will put it down and I'll put in your honor.
Thank you. And if you win, just give me a thumbs up or at least, you know, a photo on Instagram. And if you lose, blame somebody else.
Okay, sounds good.
You know, with this convention in Atlantic City, you know, and it's mixed various pop culture and celebrity convention. Is there anybody that you've gone through the list and you're like, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing them? Because I know Bill Allen's going to be there from Rad and Born on the 4th of July. And when I met Bill, he was on a BMX bike. So, of course, I totally geeked out because, you know. So, kids, rad was not only a word that was abbreviated from a word radical. It was a great 80s movie that was pure product placement for BMX racing.
Yes, it was. And that was a big thing back then too, product placement. I mean, is that even a term now?
Not commonly known. It's now called sponsorship.
Exactly, that's true. There's a couple people in there. Like I actually know, I mean, I don't know if she remembers me, but Jenna Elfman and I used to dance together. We went to the same dance school. And we also went to Japan. We did a show in Japan together. And I'm actually curious to know if she remembers me from that show that we did together. We traveled together and did a show in Japan. So that was pretty fun. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing what she's been up to and talking to her. Pam Grier is going to be there too from Jackie Brown. Ironically enough, though, even though my scenes were not, I was in Jackie Brown, and unfortunately my scenes didn't make the final cut. Most of my scenes were with Robert Forrester, so I didn't get to meet Pam Grier. And unfortunately, Robert Forrester also passed. But looking forward to meeting her and just saying, hey, I remember working with Robert, and he was such a lovely, lovely guy, just so nice. So just, yeah. And then just walking around and saying hi to everybody. I think that's just going to be super cool.
And setting up a wrestling match between Forrest Griffin, UFC Hall of Famer and former champion, with Aaron Jackson.
With Aaron Jackson. That's a great idea. All right. On it. Got it. I'll make sure to send you the video.
Oh, please do. You know, I walked up to Aaron and I was like, all right, we're going 3 2-minute rounds. And he looked at me. He's like, no. So
I'm thinking you guys might have been slightly not the same weight, just
slightly different weight classes,
just slightly.
Yeah, you know. and WWE Hall of Famer and legend Bret Hart will be there, so it's going to be an interesting mix. Danny Bonaducci, but the entire cast minus Heidi and Michael are going to be there. Jenny Kwan, Kelly Packard, yourself, obviously, Jay Anthony Frankie. For some reason, is still living in Australia, but is going to have the greatest frequent flyer plan ever with how many shows are coming out this way.
I know. I think he's just going to have to move back.
It almost seems that way, you know, or he's just going to do all the Australian conventions without you guys.
Yeah, exactly. We could be on Zoom. Remember, we've established that Zoom is very convenient.
This is true. You know, when I talked to Jay the first time, before meeting him in person, obviously, someone had made him a Funko Pop doll for New York. What were like some of the interesting things that people pulled out of, you know, of Lorena, or like any fan memorabilia or gifts that they gave you? Like, because fans love to like go in on the gifts.
Yeah, I got the most amazing, and I don't have it nearby. I actually got, and it happened this weekend, the most amazing picture of a fan who took the time to find all the pictures of me when I screen tested for Selena, took the Selena logo and then just added multiple shots of me dancing and singing in my screen test to this photo. It's amazing.
Wow.
Like that was really like, I don't have those pictures. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know where to find these pictures. I thought that was awesome. So yeah, I just got that this weekend.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, and since there are so many stories floating around and that have, you know, touched people, not only based on the show, but, you know, their own personal experiences, you get to hear other people's stories. Was there one that stood out for you that you could share? Obviously, you don't have to throw out a name, but, you know, basically a recap of something that they shared with you that happened to them that was like connected to Lorena and like, wow, you know, I can't believe you remembered it all these years, or like, I'm so glad this episode mattered to you so much.
Generally, there's two. And generally what I've heard from people more than once is the representation that, you know, Lorena being representing, you know, a positive image of a Latina character. Like that's really been the one that has kind of, I've heard over and over again. Started in New York, heard that also in LA. And I thought, again, like for me, I just never even, you know, at 19, 20, 21, when I was shooting the show, it's like, hey, I got this gig. I'm so excited. And it's super fun. And I was with a group of people and we were having a great time. And, you know, it didn't translate to me that, you know, I was making an impact on anybody. It's a fun show. It's Saturday morning. We were there with, you know, Saved by the Bell new class, et cetera, et cetera. What, you know, fast forward to now, I have received so much feedback from fans and people that loved the show that they were like, you were like the only person that looked like me or that had the background of being, you know, a Latin character that I could associate with, that I could see on TV. And I was like, are you sure? Like there wasn't anybody else at the time? They're like, you know, if there was, I wasn't watching them. And again, this was a very specific audience. So if these were young kids and teenagers and they didn't have a Hispanic character or Latin character that they saw on a Saturday morning show or on these shows where they watch to have some fun, then I guess that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what my character was. And I've heard that more than once. And that's been interesting and really impactful to even me to know that and hear that from people. That one, and I have received a couple of Instagram messages from people saying, you know, I just had a shitty childhood and your show made me feel good in the morning. And it made me laugh when there wasn't a lot of laughter in our house. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm saying is like, I want to do that. I want to have that kind of impact. I want to make people feel good. I want to make people feel seen, which is why every time somebody comes up and just introduces themselves, I thank them. I'm like, thank you for coming, because, you know, I'm really happy that I could be here and hear you and see your excitement. You're the reason I'm here. But yeah, that message that I got in Instagram touched my heart, because I'm glad we were able to be there for someone who wasn't having a very good childhood. So that was another one that really touched me.
No, that's powerful. See, all we got was Aladdin, and we're like, hey, it's not a terrorist movie. We're happy. And then somebody the other day was like, what are you talking about? Aladdin kidnapped her. He wasn't a good guy. I was like, listen, don't ruin it all.
I know.
Give us like 10%
Can I have a little
positive.
bit of I know, that's true.
You know? At least
Oh my God.
Aladdin wasn't a terrorist like every other movie out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sad part. That's you know, visuals of that children are getting, or back in the 90s or 80s, you know, whatever.
Right.
You know, like obviously it's not the same now. Now you've got a lot more representation in everything, in Disney shows and Disney movies, you know, but back then there wasn't. And so that was really great to hear that my little character, Lorena Costa, that was just, you know, wore the boots and had a loft, and the band, you know, rehearsed in her loft, made an impact because, you know, people saw themselves in that character, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and it worked. But the difference between representation then versus now was that it was organic, you know. William
Yes.
obviously being Black, you being Hispanic, Jenny being East Asian, and so on, that it was just organic that everybody came together versus, you know, if it was done
Forced.
today, Lorena would have a spotlight on her wrapped in a Mexican flag, right? And like a piñata in the background, like, make sure you know. And I'm like, we
Yes.
kind of figured it out from the name, you know, and looking at you if we
Yeah.
have sight.
Well, that's true. I mean, I think that's yeah, I think that's why it wasn't so you hit it, you're absolutely right in that it was organic. You know, we didn't think of ourselves as I'm the Hispanic character, you know, I represent the Latina, and William, you represent the African American. You know, like we didn't, that's not how the cast came together. Obviously, Lorena Costa, they were looking for you know, a Latina to play her, but I don't believe Tony Wicks was supposed to be African American. I know that Jenny's character ended up being an extension of the fact that she didn't get Tiffany Smith. So I don't think that it was conscious to make us look like, you know, the United Nations. And that's not how, that wasn't the approach either. We were just a group of friends. And again, that was the reason why I just didn't even think about it, because at the time we were just a group of friends. We didn't play up too much of the representation at the time. And I think maybe that's why it translated even easier and better, right? Because it was just a normal character. I didn't have an accent. My parents didn't come from, you know, from difficult situation. They had money. I didn't have an accent. I didn't, you know, I was me. Once in a while, I would, you know, tell somebody off in Spanish. But other than that, it was just me being friends with a group of people.
They didn't make you a teen mom. You know, there wasn't
Nope.
a Quinceañera episode. There wasn't any of that.
Nope. No.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think that we went to a ski lodge and my parents owned it, I think. I mean, it was just like, you know, I actually have a really bad memory. So a lot of the episodes, I cannot remember what the storylines were.
You guys had like almost 80 episodes for the show, and it's unfortunate it's not on streaming, but music rights. And music rights is always what holds everything up, which is kind of interesting because the music was written for the show. It wasn't commercial music that the show took.
Yeah, I'm still a little, I don't know anything about it, but that's what I keep hearing, because that's been one of my biggest questions in this, like, hey, everybody's so excited, you know, why hasn't this show kind of been put on Peacock, or, you know, which is the NBC streaming? And that's what I'm being told by Jenny and Brentley, or particularly Jenny, who's been working really hard at this. At California Dreams being exposed to streaming services or whatever, and she's like, it's the music, and yeah, I don't know too much about it, but that's exactly what it is.
It's always the music rights. Like Kid Video had way too many mainstream songs on there that obviously they couldn't do that. Mickey Mouse Club doesn't get reruns on Disney Plus because they did mainstream covers. It was just a little confusing because yes, the music is separate from the show, but the music was written for the show.
Right. I don't get it either.
Well, hopefully,
but I mean, we gotta figure it out. Come on, hashtag stream California Dreams.
Right. Come on, Comcast. You guys own the record label too. Figure it out between yourselves.
Come on. People want to see the show.
This is a schizophrenic argument.
What was that?
It's a schizophrenic argument because Comcast owns NBC and Comcast owns the record label. I think it's like Universal Records that owns it, so they own them. So, like, figure it out. This is a family dispute. Figure it out.
Yeah. Figure it out.
You know, it's like the cousins fighting over inheritance. Let's get this done.
Well, this might start going to a very different, darker place. But the whole Prince thing, you know, how sad their family fighting over his estate and all that. So yeah. We just went sideways on this one.
Oh, it's all right. That's what we were alluding to. I was just trying to keep it a little more, family
Sorry,
friendly.
trying to keep it light and
Right.
kid friendly. Like, no, it sucks with Prince's family. I'm kidding.
This is the drunk driving portion of the California Dreams interview that Mark suffered through in the season. Well, I don't know what season it was, but somebody knows what season it is. Yeah. It's fun to see that, like, you've come out of your shell for the show. It's like, it's not one of those like bitterness of like, look, I did that a long time ago, forget it. It's over and done with. Like, you gave it a shot and it ended up being a very positive experience for you. Would you now even consider, since your youngest one is in high school, almost out of the house, doing like a family show? Since this was a kid-friendly show, would you be like a family show, like something, Nickelodeon, Disney Plus, even NBC, whatever they want to do with their family series?
Absolutely. I think I am completely open to whatever coming back to this and revisiting this brings. I am 100% open to opportunity, and I'm extremely grateful on the path that my life has taken, in conjunction with my family and everybody. It's just been, you just get to the point where you're kind of older and you're like, I'm open, I'm good. I feel calm and, on this perhaps a little bit of a crossroad of like, hey, what's next? It's not like life's over when you're not as young as you used to be, but I really am completely open to what potentially might come out of me coming out from under my rock.
Or NBC can completely do a California Dreams spin-off series, and I'm going to put it so you'll know this, kids. This was a famous band in the 80s that still performs called the Jets. They had like 16 kids, and as the older ones aged out, the younger ones came in, and now their kids are in the band performing all the Jets songs. Could California Dreams do that with the next generation? And like, now the original characters' kids are taking over the band, kind of like the Jets.
That one's harder for me to swallow, but and you know what? I actually don't know about the Jets.
Yeah.
I don't know that show. I'm gonna have to look that up.
No, it's not a show. It's an actual band. You remember the song, "Crush on You," and like, I'll send you some music links later.
You're gonna have to send me that one. I don't know that one.
Yeah, they were a Polynesian family, and there was like 16 kids in the family. So you had the original group that sang like "Crush on You" and like all these 80s like pop standards. And then as they got older, the older ones aged out, and then their younger siblings took their spots. Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that song. That's interesting. Never knew that though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like, stuff that you find out with everybody starts sending you stuff. They're like, the Jets are on tour, and then you do the like, oh, which, I can't believe like those guys are in their 60s and they're still doing it. And then you find out like, oh no, it's their kids that took over.
It's like generation 2, 3, 4 that came after.
Right. It's like Kiss, how there's a revolving door of guitarists and drummers. Now,
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know about the guitarists and drummers, because they're still trying to have the originals in the front. I think they finally stopped, but
yeah, Paul and Gene sold everything for like $300 million.
Yeah.
And then listen, I'm not mad at them. Make the money. If you can do it legally and you pull off $300 million for selling your entire catalog and image, go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
The Grateful Dead is the one that they've cycled in the well, obviously out of necessity.
Yeah.
Potentially out of necessity.
Right. I mean, Jerry passed because of the detox. So, it's stuff like that. Diana, where can we find you on social media if we want to connect with you?
So my handle, are you impressed?
Yes.
Are you impressed? Come on.
You and all 3 of your photos, which is just as in-depth as your IMDb page.
I know. No, my TikTok account only has 3 photos. my Instagram, you know what it is? Okay, so yes, you're absolutely right. It's only 5. I have such issues, and I will give it up to an online business coach at Movement Maestro, who just recently talked about this. But I have posting phobia. I never think it's good enough, or I never think it's like interesting. And so I have multiple drafts of like, oh, this picture is so cool. And oh, I should say this. Oh, let me post this. I have drafts upon drafts upon drafts. And I get to the end and I don't post it because I just get that anxiety of like, no, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. It's stupid. It's silly. People are going to think this is lame. And I don't do it. That's why I only have 5
Diana,
posts.
and I'm going to put Annie's name out there because she was very sweet. And she's in the article because I interviewed her. Annie had leg surgery and put off physical therapy in the 90s to watch the show, and then took her son and flew to New York from Nashville, and then flew from Nashville to LA to see you. I think you're a little more interesting than you give yourself credit for.
Okay. I'll try to hit post right when I get to the end of that. Like, hey, these pictures are kind of cool. I'll try to complete the task of posting. But yes, it's at Fitzy Fam of 5.
Fitzy Fam of 5.
Yes.
FIT.
I don't know if you know this. I have 3 kids.
Yeah, I figured the 5 included you and your husband.
I'm actually double checking, by the way. Is it that? Because I'm not sure. Yes, it is. Fitzy Fam of 5.
See all 5 of Diana's photos.
All 5.
Yeah. And is it the same handle for TikTok?
No, that I don't know. Oh my God, why are you like putting me on the spot? I don't know. That one. Okay, so I do have an explanation as to why there's a TikTok account and why there's nothing on there.
Okay.
Quickly. So the reason I came back from being under my rock is because my daughter, and I have said this story before, so apologies if, for everyone out there if you've heard this before, but basically my youngest, my redhead, because I call her the redhead found a then and now TikTok with my castmates, and she was like, hey mom, look, Michael Cade, William. I'm like, oh my God, look at how good they look. Oh, that's so cute. And then she got to me and she's like, mom, this isn't you. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not me. I'm like, that's not me. And she's like, I know, mom. And so I was like, well, what should I do? She's like, well, you have to I'm going to comment that this isn't you. You have to create a TikTok. Well, first of all, you have to comment, but I needed an account to comment. And so I created a TikTok account. I commented that it wasn't me. I think my TikTok is Diana Uribe. I don't know. But basically, I was just like, hey, everybody, thanks, but that's not me. So all I did was to just kind of tell people, that's not me. Yeah, I think, look at that, at Diana Uribe now. And by the way, it's 1 post with 3 photos.
Wow. Okay. 1 post, 3 photos.
Yes.
And the photo that they used was Diana season 2 when she got on the show, and then the final episode because she looks exactly the same anyway.
No. The ones that I posted on my TikTok account are just photos that I've taken over the course of these last forever 30 years. Just kind of even saying that 30 is rough. But yes, the original TikTok post that had a then and now did not have the real Diana Uribe. I can tell you that much. Lovely lady, lovely, I'm sure, but she was not me. And she had to have been a little bit older than me. And so I was just like, yeah, that's not me. I just thought people should know.
Did she look like she could be your cousin? Was there any remote resemblance, or just somebody completely off?
I don't want to say too much. I don't want to be me.
Didn't look like you is what we're going for.
Did not look like me.
Okay.
I mean,
did not look like she could pass for a relative and go, maybe.
I mean, relative, yeah. She had dark hair.
Listen, Aaron and I have the same barber. Doesn't mean, we're twins.
I mean, I think you are.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
6'3", he's 5'7", we're good to go.
Yeah. There was a little bit of that going on.
Yeah.
Like there was some, put it this way, there were some obvious differences, but potentially she could have been my auntie,
Okay.
but she was not me.
Well, hopefully she's a nice lady, and
I'm
she
sure
should be
she is.
thrilled to be mistaken for you.
And maybe she's famous too. Who knows?
Maybe like we come to find out that she is like your mom's sixth cousin from Mexico
Once
City.
removed, and yeah.
You're in the will, and it's just that way. So
Yeah, maybe she is my long lost auntie who left me everything. So let's go with that.
fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping for. Yeah. Just to remind everybody on the East Coast that is in train or driving distance or plane, or
Plane.
I know you're going to watch this because you'll probably fly in from Nashville because that's how much we love you, that we got to keep putting your name out there because you're such a sweet lady. You and your son Hayden, and Hayden is of an age. That's why we can say his name. By the way, Hayden did celebrate his 21st birthday in LA with you guys.
Yes, he did. We were so excited.
That's a birthday present right there. And you
Yeah.
danced with him.
I did. He is my official dance partner. If I see Hayden, him and I are dancing together.
Yeah. Well, everyone on the East Coast, Atlantic City Celebrity Convention, the website for them, I do not have that, but I will link it in for everyone with the tickets there. At least Instagram is Atlantic City CC, July 25th through the 28th. 2 concerts, right?
Yes, that's what I'm being told. Thursday and Saturday.
Thursday and Saturday. Friday, they got to rest their voices, or as Diana's going to go hit the roulette table on my behalf. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for chatting with me and catching up and letting everybody know where you've been.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for even being interested to talk to me.
Oh, of course. How could I not be?